So let's start with, from your perspective, what do you think is the thing that the U.S. and Israel, or go with the U.S., most misunderstood or underestimated when they went into this conflict?
I think it's the determination of the Iranians. I wrote a book about this, that if they were under attack, what they would do is bring down Gulf energy supplies, which could be up to 50% of proven reserves. Now think about that. Let's say you can take proven reserves offline for 2, 3, or 4 years. It will destroy the world's economy, as it's starting to do. And I think what they confused Tehran with Caracas. You just simply can't decapitate the Iranian regime and expect people to pour out in the streets. That's not Iran. I mean, it's so few of these people. I don't know that anybody in the administration has ever been to Iran. They don't understand who these people are. They don't understand. They're the faithful, if you like. I've spent a lot of time there, not a lot, but enough to see that, in a way, let me be politically incorrect, it's a death cult. These people, large segment, are ready to die for their beliefs. You know, you go to the Martyrs Cemetery in Tehran, and it's genuine. And I've spent a lot of time with the Basij, and that's genuine. They're going to fight. We can turn the electricity off if we like. We can destroy their desalinization facilities, all of them. We could turn the country into rubble, but they're still going to come back. And I mean, look at the numbers. You've got 93 million people. If you destroy the economy, turn it into a failed state, and you look across the Gulf at a country like Qatar, which has only got 350,000 people, who's going to defend the Arab sheikdoms? I mean, I'm not big fans of them, but who's going to defend them? Are we going to keep a fleet in the? Well, I mean, we can't even put boats in the Gulf right now. It's too dangerous. So, but are we going to keep boats there? And then what do you do about 93 million armed, desperate people and these fragile countries around? Again, you take off 50% of the world's oil resources. Let's say a Syria-like situation where it's total chaos and mayhem. Oil is closed down. The effect it will have on the world's economy will look a lot like the Great Depression.
And Emily, I'll let you jump in 1 second. Let me just follow up on the question of the death cult. People would rephrase that as a lot of people in Iran see this as existential. Like, we are fighting them, from Tampa, from Nebraska, from aircraft carriers that are out of range. They are in their country, and they see this as an existential fight, and are behaving rationally. I think death cult suggests like a level of irrationality.
It's a bad word.
Yeah,
it's not. But I mean, they fought. They lost hundreds of thousand people in the war on Iraq. They were prepared to defend their nation. They have a very strong historical sense. It's a country that goes back 4,000 years. Any number of things. And they're also looking at it is, look, they signed off on the nuclear agreement, JCPOA, and we unilaterally ripped it up. I mean, they were complying with the terms of JCPOA. The 2 times this administration has gone into negotiations with them, in the middle of it, they attack them. The intent, and I think that you see this on the far right in this country, is to destroy Iran for past wrongs. And that goes back to Lebanon, goes to Iraq and the rest of it. But they don't see it that way. I mean, look at the attack on Ras Laffan. It followed our attack, or the Israeli attack, on South Pars. They reply in kind. It's a tit for tat, and they've always done this. And it's not a question of defending the Iranians. This is who they are. This is our enemy. And we're so bad at misunderstanding our enemy. what they'll fight for and what they won't. I mean, you go back to Vietnam. We had never understood North Vietnam, just American history. We refuse to believe that our enemies have grievances, whether legitimate or not. And so we are fighting their grievances. Mm-hmm. But in all fairness, let's say to the CIA, it doesn't have anybody that's been to Iran, understands the Iranians. Those people have all retired. They've gone away. Same way with State Department. Farsi speakers, very few of them. The Iranians we know are exiles. You can never trust exiles. Mm-hmm. As Machiavelli told us, you can't trust them. So it's a black box we're going into. And I cannot tell you right now who's going to give up first. It could be the Trump administration. It could be the Iranians. But we don't know. That's the problem. I mean, what could happen in this next week is what should really worry us.
Well, Bob, I wanted to pick up on that point because something interesting happened in the beginning of March where Lindsey Graham had made recent trips to Israel, came back, told the American press Israeli intelligence would tell him things that U.S. intelligence was not telling him, which is fascinating and suggests that some information planted to Lindsey Graham is then going into Donald Trump. So what do you believe? Who is giving Donald Trump information on Iran that is that's basically the information he's basing his own decisions off of? What do we know about that? What can we surmise about that?
Well, I think what's telling is that Trump yesterday said we don't know whether Mujtaba, the son, is alive or dead. I mean, that tells me we don't know much about the country. It's one thing for the Israelis to target Iranian nuclear scientists because they all have smartphones, they've got apps, you've got cameras in Tehran that can track people, you can track any cell phone. They do a brilliant job at it. I mean, they really do. Mm-hmm. But the assembly of experts and the people who are making the decision are offline. I've spent time in Qom. These people do not do smartphones. It's very medieval. On top of that, you have the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, which has this mosaic defense. And that's command and control is not vertical. And they know what to do. And they don't need orders. They don't need communications. And they do it because they've been planning for an attack like this for a long, back to Reagan, back to the Iran-Iraq war. They've been planning for a long time. We, in the meantime, have ignored them, and the Israelis don't understand the country. I love the TV show Tehran, but trust me, they do not have Mossad officers wandering around, staff officers, Tehran. It's too dangerous. When I was there, I had an Iranian ID card, and I was stopped. My group was stopped every 15 minutes. We were checked for our IDs. And they're very good cards too. They're not reproducible. So the Israelis are depending on MEK, the resistance group, the Iranians, criminals and the rest of it. But that doesn't get to the heart of the Iranian regime, which is very much res opaque to us. Right. So if the Israelis are saying, hey, we decapitate the regime, it's a shot in the dark for them. They don't know. And I mean, the Iranians probably, Khamenei wasn't even really the grand Ayatollah. He didn't have the chops for it, the dissertations and the rest of it. He wasn't recognized as one. He was effectively the spokesman for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Now, the people making the decisions in the mosques are, we don't know what they're up to. We just don't. When I went to Qom, I debated an Ayatollah, but I can tell you right now that I didn't walk away from that debate or from going to Qom debating other people any smarter of what they would do. And my limited experience in Iran tells me how little the American government knows. You just simply cannot pick this stuff up from academic papers and the rest of it. It doesn't work that way.
So the Israelis, really have leaned into this assassination strategy. You're the perfect one to ask about that. You're the author of the Perfect Kill, which you've got in there. I think it's called 21 Rules for Assassinations or something along those lines. Like when you think about those rules and your career as a CIA case officer, how do you assess the effectiveness of kind of U.S.-Israeli assassination program, whether it's Hezbollah, Hamas, or now as it's rolling out in Iran?
Well, when I wrote the book, it was like I write so much is obvious. Had we assassinated Hitler, had he been assassinated early on in the war, we would have saved a lot of bloodshed. But what we're seeing in Lebanon is the Israelis have assassinated, the leadership of Hezbollah, all of them, people I know, Mugnia, the rest of them. But now they're in the middle they're in a quagmire in southern Lebanon, because there was a second and third tier of people that may be more effective than the people they got rid of. And they assassinated Khamenei, but we don't even know whether his son's alive. I mean, I could see the Iranians knowing he's died in that first attack, yet carrying on with this whole idea of martyrdom and spirit. So I think the proof's in the pudding, and assassination in terms of Iran and Hezbollah is not effective.
The Israeli outcome is, if there's regime change, what we know is that they're not concerned so much about utter chaos engulfing Iran. They actually see a weak Iran as a benefit to Israel, even in the long term, from public reporting and statements and the like. Mm-hmm. What can you tell us about how true that actually is? So if we take Israel's argument at face value, is it actually true that Israel is safer in the long term with Iran mired in chaos, or does the factionalization actually create an enormously dangerous situation, the likes of which we haven't even seen so far?
Israel lives in a bad neighborhood, and I don't think at the end of the day, chaos on your borders is going to turn out to be profitable. I mean, it was, if Oslo had worked, they'd be better off. And now you are going to, once you destabilize, let's say Saudi Arabia, let's take a scenario that tomorrow we hit Karg Island. The next day, the Iranians take out Abqaiq, shut off 7 million barrels a day, take out water supplies. You're going to have an Arab world that's going to fall apart, including Jordan, on their border. Mm-hmm. And what do you do with all of these people, armed, and you're pushing into chaos? And that's not the best solution. Now, what destroyed any chance of a peace was 7 October, of course, which was horrific for the Israelis, and they are responding to it. And this administration is still responding to it. But look, Hamas is still in place in Gaza. The West Bank is not getting any better. It's getting worse. And Jerusalem is. And Israeli society is becoming less secular by the minute, which isn't good for it. It's not good for Israelis, because a lot of Israelis are just going to pick up and leave, the ones that can. And you're going to have this very small state, which is ultimately indefensible if the population is cut way down and you have all this craziness on your borders. So, I mean, we are really into uncharted waters here. You don't take value of what Netanyahu's done. You just see what forces he's reacting to. And then you take the forces that the Iranians are reacting to, and you have two immovable forces here at loggerheads. And the entire world will pay for this. I see these numbers from hedge funds in New York about what this is doing to derivatives in the petroleum market. We've yet to feel it, and there's no turning back right now. It can't be fixed. And if Iran controls Hormuz and turns it into a toll booth and keeps Arab oil from leaving, or highly taxed, it's a new game.
What's your sense of, if you listen to Trump or Hegseth, the Rubio now, the U.S. is just cleaning up and, really showing them who's boss. What's your sense of who's winning this war strategically at this point?
I still think it's the Samason option. I think that if it continues, Iran will become a failed state. It'd be like Somalia or Syria. Whether ethnic problems, civil war comes to this, I can't tell you. It's unknowable. So I don't think anybody's winning in this. The point is the IRGC is in place. It's calling the shots. We don't know who the second tier commanders are, the third. We don't know how devoted they are. And trust me, these people, the IRGC are tough people. I mean, they have no sense of humor. When I was in Tehran, I went and knocked on our embassy door and said, let me in. This officer comes out, he says, go away. I didn't give up, so I pounded it again. So I'm an American taxpayer. Let me in. I want to see our property. And he just slammed it. They are very, very serious, as we know, and they mow people down in the street. I just don't see them giving up. I mean, these people are still, they live by grievances. That when the prophet's grandson was murdered, that's foremost in their lives. I just don't see him giving, even if we do take out Karg, I would imagine no one's going to dare surrender.
Well, have you noticed the kind of meme war that Iran has been waging? The jokes have been asymmetrically kind of in favor so far, actually, of the Iranian government this time. They seem to be laughing all the way to Samason here.
Oh yeah, I mean they've been. Look, here's the problem. The Iranian actors from '79 on blamed us for the Shah. Yes, we participated in the corruption, but nothing we did deserved our embassy being overrun. And in their various terrorist acts that they've conducted, that the military hasn't forgotten, they did the Marines in '83. It was them, not Hezbollah. It was Iran who organized that. And I could go on and I could just inflame, with all the attacks that we know they did. And they took the hostages. It was Iran, not Hezbollah. So we have our grievances, but now they're meeting, but the Iranians have this deep sense of justice and injustice. And they think that they're the receiving end of an imperial United States. They look at Israel as, an imperial state, essentially run by the United States. That's not true, but the way they look at it in the street is that we are calling the shots in Tel Aviv. That's the way they look at the world, and they say, there's some sort at the end divine justice, or it's secular too. And when I talked to the Basij about suicide bombings in the Iran-Iraq war, they said, no, you people, you have it wrong. It's not because of 72 virgins and they wear the little white keys. It's because you agree with one of your soldiers rushing and dying to take out a machine gun nest in World War II. We're the same way. These people are not stupid. And they know what they're doing, and what they've been hitting the aluminum facilities in the Gulf and the rest of it. It's pinpoint strikes and damage it's going to be doing to the West. You look at the Islamic State, and they just slaughtered for slaughter's sake. The Iranians are much more focused and have a plan.
What is the off ramp for Trump? Where does this? What's the best case scenario here? What's the worst case scenario?
The best case scenario is he says, look, we changed the leadership. Everybody's been assassinated, the bad guys. We can deal with these guys, and we're going to come to, he's going to declare victory and leave. That's the best solution. I don't think the Iranians are going to surrender to the demands. I don't think Hezbollah is going to surrender. I think that's going to keep going on. So the best is declare victory and leave. We set them back 20 years in their industry and the rest of it. But on the other hand, if they control the oil coming in and out of the Gulf, anybody looking at the numbers economically, it'll look like they won.
All right. Well, Bob, thanks so much for taking some time. Really appreciate it.